In this SatSoft how-to video, we'll illustrate how to import pattern data from external files and how to easily set up new satellites and antennas and update existing ones. This is done using the so-called Pattern Data Manager, a new powerful tool that we introduced in SatSoft 3.3. We start with a blank SatSoft project with no pattern data and no satellites and antennas. The Pattern Data Manager can be opened in two ways in all views in SatSoft, via Tools Pattern Data Manager or by clicking the Pattern Data Manager in the top menu. After opening the Pattern Data Manager in a blank project like the one considered here, the list of pattern data sets is empty. In the right part of the dialog, we see several buttons that can be used for handling and managing pattern data, and in this video we'll illustrate how to use several of these. Most of the buttons are more interesting when we have some pattern data sets available, so let's start by clicking on Import to import pattern data. This immediately brings up a file browser that can be used for locating the pattern data to be imported, and we highlight the external files of interest and click on Open. The data from the external files are imported and become available as so-called pattern data sets in the Pattern Data Manager. The pattern data sets get named after the external files that they were imported from. However, once imported, there is no link to the external file. Deleting or renaming the pattern data sets, operations that can all be done in the Pattern Data Manager, will not affect the external files. And the renaming, moving or deleting the external files will not affect the pattern data sets in the SatSoft project. As a final thing, we note that after importing pattern data into the SatSoft project, they become available in the Pattern Data Manager, but no satellites or antennas are created, as can be seen in the project tree to the left. Now we would like to set up new satellites and antennas directly from the Pattern Data Manager. To this end, we click on Edit Defaults. We'd like to set up a satellite at 5 degrees west, so we change the satellite name to Satellite 5W, 5 West, and change the longitude to -5 degrees east and click on OK. To create a satellite with the name and position we just made, we highlight the pattern data sets that we would like to use as antennas on this satellite in the list and click on Create Satellite. In the project tree, a satellite called Satellite 5W is created, and 3 child antennas are also created. The new antennas have the same names as the associated pattern data sets that were selected in the list. We'll come back to that later. We click OK to close the Pattern Data Manager. On the map, the new satellite is shown, and selected pattern contours of the newly created antennas are also shown on the map. We would now like to create another satellite at another position, and we therefore open the Pattern Data Manager again. We'd like to create a new satellite at 56 degrees west. Therefore, we click on Edit Defaults and update the satellite name to Satellite 56W and the longitude to -56 degrees east, and click OK. In practical scenarios, one could easily imagine having many more pattern data sets than here, and in such cases, the list of available pattern data sets might be difficult to get an overview over. It's therefore possible to filter the list by using the filter at the bottom of the Pattern Data Manager. For example, if we type _56, only pattern data sets containing this text string in the name will be shown, and this allows us to focus on pattern data sets belonging to the 56 degree west satellite. Another thing to note is the order of the antennas for the already created Satellite 5W. They appear in the order that we selected them in the list in the Pattern Data Manager. For the 56 West satellite, we first click on CONUS 56 and then on Brazil 56, then Create Satellite. The Satellite 56W has now been created, as can be seen in the project tree. As explained, the first child antenna is here, CONUS 56, and the second one is Brazil 56. The associated antenna patterns are also displayed, as can for example be seen over CONUS due to the CONUS 56 antenna. Next, we'd like to add another antenna to Satellite 56W, and we therefore open again the Pattern Data Manager. We highlight the pattern data set Western Europe 56. We click on Add to Satellite, and this opens a dialog displaying all satellites available in the current SatSoft project. We click on Satellite 56W in the list and click on OK. And in the Pattern Data Manager, we also click on OK. A new child antenna, Western Europe 56, has been added to satellite 56W, and its pattern contour are also displayed on the map. All antennas created with the Pattern Data Manager until now have the same name as the associated pattern data sets. This is the default behavior in the new sets of projects, but not only the way to name new antennas created with the Pattern Data Manager. To illustrate this, we open again the Pattern Data Manager. We'd like to set up another satellite, 56 West, but with child antennas named differently. Therefore, we click on Edit Defaults. We keep the same satellite settings as previously. At the bottom under Antenna Settings, we toggle Use Pattern Data Name to Off. In Antenna Name, we choose Custom Name as the base for naming new antennas and click OK. In the list, we now again highlight CONUS 56, Brazil 56, and Western Europe 56 and click on Create Satellite. Another satellite, 56W, has thus been created. It's not a problem to have more than one satellite with the same name in a SATSOFT project. But more importantly, the child antennas created from the Pattern Data Manager have this time been named with custom names and the numbers appended. Using either names from the pattern data sets or a custom naming scheme in this way gives the user flexibility when defining new satellites and antennas using the Pattern Data Manager. We reopen the Pattern Data Manager to illustrate the deletion of pattern data sets. We highlight, for example, CONUS 56 that we know has been used for defining two antennas in the project. Then we click on Delete. A dialog warning us that this pattern data set is referenced in two antennas in the project is present, but we confirm deletion of the pattern by clicking Yes. The pattern data set is then deleted from the list in Pattern Data Manager. We reiterate that this deletes the data in the SATSOFT project, but the external file used originally for importing the data remains unaffected by this operation. So we can click OK to close the Pattern Data Manager. When we close the Pattern Data Manager, the CONUS 56 pattern contours immediately disappear as a consequence of deleting this pattern data set. At the same time, the antennas that used to reference this pattern data set still exist, but are now in the unassigned state. We thank you for watching this SATSOFT how-to video. Hope you could make use of it.